The Polygamist has just gone global.
The demand has just tripled since the Netflix series. It was destined for the screen.
What were the steps behind that decision?
People would read it and say, who wrote this? Who's the culprit? Who's giving us heart palpitations? Because the thing with film, when you see yourself, representation matters, I always say. People saw themselves in one of those characters. And that's what resonated. That's what made people say, what is this? What am I seeing?
Africa is rising. You do not have to leave Africa to be a great author.
There's power in storytelling because we can use it to reach audiences. As long as it resonates, then you can attach the messaging.
Welcome back to Humor Career Insights, and today I am in Johannesburg, the first stop on the Humor Career Insights Africa Across Borders Tour 2026. My guest today has been writing since she was 13. She built a 20-year career in finance. She was rejected by publishers. She borrowed money from a friend and self-published anyway. And 14 years after that book first appeared, it became a Netflix series, currently sitting at #1 in 16 countries around the world. We went to the same high school, so this conversation is a catch-up of sorts. I'm joined today by Nyathi. Welcome to Humor Career Insights, Sue. I have been looking forward to this conversation. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, and thank you so much for having me.
Sue, can you walk down the street without people descending on you?
I don't think so anymore. I think people are now recognizing me, which is quite interesting because I think most times people will watch television, but really do they worry about who wrote this?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how many people read credits? Do you?
No.
You see. So it's actually quite interesting how the conversation is circled back to the author of the book. And this is probably why you're sitting with me this morning.
Yes, yes. Do you know why? Or do you have any idea why this time it circled back to the author?
I don't know. I think people just were intrigued, I guess. And they were like, so who wrote this? You know, who's the culprit? Who's giving us heart palpitations and high BP? And now we're looking for ashwagandha and all this. People were stressed. So they're like, who wrote this? Which is, for me, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see the authors because it starts with a story.
Yeah.
Anything, you know, begins with a story. Everything begins with a story. And so to see the spotlight on authors is just great. And people have been looking for the book now. And there's been a resurgence of demand. Not that we haven't been selling the title, but, you know, the demand has just tripled.
Yeah.
Since the Netflix series. So which is also good, you know, as an author.
Congratulations,
No, thank
Sue.
you
I
so
mean,
much.
it's really incredible how the Polygamist has just gone global, and
Absolutely.
it was overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's overnight, but I think people don't realize the work wasn't overnight.
Yeah.
You know, years have gone into the writing career. And I mean, if we go back to how it all started, I wrote the book in 2010.
Yeah.
I struggled to find a publisher for it in 2011. And that's when I then made a decision to self-publish it. And it came out in 2012. And it had a slow start when it went into the world. It, you know, didn't fly off the shelves. It took a while to gain traction. I think only in 2017, you know, did it start to move.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, more people started reading it. And since then, it's been steadily, you know, gaining a strong audience. So, I mean, to be here at this, you know, present point in time is just, you know, phenomenal, I think.
Yeah, it is indeed. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, let me take you back to, you mentioned that you had to self-publish, right? Because it was denied. I know you got a 2-page letter, right? From
Several. No, that wasn't even for that book. The 2-page letter from Weaver Press was for a family affair, actually. I've had a lot of rejection letters in my career.
How do you get through the rejection?
It's not easy, but it gets easier. I remember when I first, because I was early in my career, you know, when you're trying to find your voice as a writer. I think rejection is harder to take because you haven't developed a thick skin yet, and you're very insecure. You're not sure of your own writing, so the rejection always hits harder because then you think, am I really good at this, or should I even be writing? So you start to doubt yourself. And I think for me, the first rejection, what helped me to get over it, because I remember when I received that letter, I decided I'm not going to write anymore. Let me just focus on my career in finance and just forget about the writing. And then my cousin Mobile, who was a journalist, she's late now. She reached out because she was always aware I was writing, and she used to love to read my stuff. And when she heard me say, I don't want to write anymore, she was like, why? Why don't you want to write? And so I told her, I said, hey, I got this letter, and she says, send that letter. I want to see it. I want to read it. What did it say? I was like, it just made me decide, so I don't want to write anymore. So she said, no, bring that letter. So I forwarded the letter to her. And she went through it. And, she was able to comb the positive aspects of the letter. And she was saying to me, look, it's not all bad. Just focus on the good, there's good stuff here and good advice. Rather focus on that and let that move you forward. And so, she then convinced me to pick up the pen again. And I think she was instrumental because I think at that point I would have just quit. Yeah.
I did see in your acknowledgements
Yes.
at the back of the book that you credited her to encouraging you to write when you didn't want to write anymore at
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, I think we owe her a debt of gratitude because there might be no polygamists right now.
Yeah. So it's always that the encouragement and the affirmation and those people who really walked the journey with me earlier on. Because I think then you really need to hear someone say, no. You are good, at this. Don't doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Because especially very early on. And I think for someone who's listening out there, who's not sure, just keep at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep at it.
Yeah. I want to take you back to high school. We knew each other in high school.
Yes.
And I know you were writing poetry at the time. You used to
Yes.
get awards for poetry.
Yes.
Are you still writing poetry?
Not anymore. So that's what I always tell people, that it was actually poetry that got me a lot of the acclaim, when I was in high school. I think the long form actually came after. Well, I started it in high school, but I wasn't, I wasn't writing. Well, I wasn't getting awards for my creative writing. Let's put it that way. It was the poetry that really, got me the recognition. But yeah, I kind of abandoned it, I think. And yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, and then I just went long form and I just never looked back. Yeah.
Although I do notice in your books you sometimes put little poetry
Yes,
things.
I
The
do.
T.S. Eliot's. We used to read T.S. Eliot.
Yeah. And William Blake. I loved him a lot. I love his poems even now, like Songs of Innocence and Experience. That whole collection really resonated deeply with me. Yeah, I do, but yeah, I just don't write poetry anymore. But like in some of my books, I think in Angel's Demise, there's a poem in there. It might have been from my older work. Yeah.
Sue, what was 13-year-old Sue writing at Girls College? I know there was a book that passed around.
Yes. And you're very correct. So I started with, it was called Crazy Over You when I was in Form 1. And I covered the book. I had a cover and had a blurb. So I think even at that young age, I was manifesting, my future. I just wasn't aware of it because I knew I wanted to write. And so, when you look back in hindsight, you realize even then, the seed had already been planted. And they were passed around. I mean, that's what I was popular for. Anyone in high school who was at school during that time, my peers knew me for my writing. It was always Sue's books.
Yeah.
Have you read Sue's books? And there was only ever one copy. Do you know that? And nobody lost a copy.
Also, what they used to just pass it around.
Yeah. And they came back.
Yeah.
No, there was never a time when someone said, I've lost a copy. That everyone treasured that one because there was only one copy because they were handwritten.
And do you still have the book?
Yeah, I do have them at home. Yeah. And they all they well worn, but they traveled. Those books traveled. So people always say, Sue, we used to read your books way back then. And it's true. And that was really, like my audience. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
used to peer review my work, and it was wonderful.
And they validated the
Yes,
fact
the
that you,
dream. Yes,
yeah,
it was
the
actually,
dream.
they spoke into me to say, you should write,
What influenced your writing then? And what influences it now? Because when I read your books, I see like a lot of like the family affair. It's in
Oh,
Bulawayo,
yes.
and it's that's where you grew up. And then the Polygamist in Harare, you were working in
There.
Harare. But when you were at school, what was influencing your writing then?
What was happening for us. So it would be called young adult fiction, I guess now.
Yeah.
I was writing about also high school girls and boys, and the social,
Yeah.
how they used to navigate and socialize. And if you go back, you kind of even understand the politics of our time.
Yes.
I mean, when we were growing up, there was a lot of predatory behavior. I wrote about that, but we didn't know it was predatory. It was the time of
Yeah.
R. Kelly, Aaliyah, back and forth. And a lot of girls in high school were dating older men. And, nobody said anything, Nobody now. But now we call out such things.
Yes.
So, those are the things that I wrote about, but not knowing that, what is happening is actually, wrong, because the power dynamics between an older man and a younger woman are very different. And there was a lot of sexual coercion, which I wrote about, but we didn't call it that. So I was already observing a lot of things in our society, but we just didn't have a name for.
Yeah.
So those are kind of stories that I wrote about. Same as I do now. It's always a lens on society.
Yeah. I saw a couple of your interviews and you call yourself a social anthropologist.
Yes.
And when I read your books, I see a lot of like recording
Yes.
or kind of like archiving. 'Cause,
Yes.
yeah, there's a bit where you say, you write something, it's in the family affair,
Yeah.
and you write something about the wedding. They're actually doing the counseling.
Yes.
They are liaring.
Yes.
They call it
Ulaya, yes.
Yeah. And it was like, having gone through something similar, I was like, oh my gosh, this is recorded exactly the way
Yes.
that the aunts do it.
Yeah.
But then there's a small little sentence where you write chapter 32. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's like a recording. Because you know what? When someone reads it many years later, they'll be like, oh, what's chapter 32?
Yeah.
Because by then it probably won't be relevant.
Yes.
And then there's places where you talk about what's actually happening right there.
Yes.
The political parties is reading a newspaper, I
Yes.
think. And is that deliberate?
Yes, because it's also for me recording that history, because we'll forget it. And also for me, because I always say we will forget it, because the Bulawayo we grew up in no longer exists anymore.
Yeah.
So how else do we keep a picture of it in our minds? And I think it's capturing it through the writing. So that's very important to me, even the culture, and where I explain the reason why were they putting the grass mats, amatrans,
Yes.
and what's the reason for the bride walking on amatrans, I also want to be able to tell people why that culture is practiced. So I think it's very important, so I always say I like to educate and entertain, even though it's not in your face, but at a subliminal level, it's happening as you read the book.
Yeah. You actually do see it. As you read, you're like, oh, so this is what was happening. Even things like currency.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
so the US dollar was, stronger than,
yeah.
So there's a education. You wanted to be a journalist. Let's talk about this career pivot. You wanted to be a journalist. And do you think that's the reason you write that way as well?
Not necessarily. I think I just wanted to write. So for me, the closest thing that would offer me that leeway was journalism. And of course, I was also referencing my cousin Mobile. I mean, because I didn't know writers. So I knew few writers, because later on then I discovered about Yvonne Vera, Oshima Chinojka. And then I was like, okay, so they're actually people who make it, who live like this, who actually write and write books for a living.
Yeah.
So it's only later that I kind of realized, okay, it can actually be a career. So you always reference, because we didn't have that kind of exposure where we saw people actually doing art for a living, and it was looked down upon. I mean, if you think our generation of our parents would always encourage you they wanted you to pursue like solid professions, doctor, lawyer,
yes.
accountant, engineer, writing. It was like, and or even worse, acting. Those were not careers that we even dreamed about. So yeah, so for me it was like journalism is probably the closest thing to writing, but I don't know if I would have, probably, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but it just, for me, it was just like, I'll be writing, but I didn't realize, okay, you can actually write beyond journalism and actually do creative writing and live on it.
Yeah. Is that a perception you would want to change? Or has that perception changed that you can actually live off writing?
You can't. So I'm not, very few writers can, unfortunately. And I guess that's where the wisdom with that, my parents gave me to have a solid career to fall back on. And for many years, I mean, I had a career in finance and investments, which is what I studied. But I think for me, there came the tension because, I used to work by day and write by night, which is what most writers do for a living. Because you really can't sustain yourself as a writer simply from royalties, especially in this country. Maybe overseas, yes, because the markets are big, that you can sell 1 million books.
Yeah.
Here you can't. I mean, here, if you consider the bestseller, you're selling between 5,000 to 10,000 copies, which is very, very small. So I think, yeah, in some countries, in most African countries, it's not something you can survive on. In the US, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Chimamanda,
Yeah.
Adichie Ngozi, she's right. She writes for a living. That's her career. So that's what I'm saying. It's not impossible, but there are few and far between writers who can actually say, I write for a living and I can survive comfortably on it. Yeah.
So I know you did finance and then you quit at the age of 40 to just write solely. What were the steps behind that decision? Did you have a plan or a strategy, or were you just like, I'm gonna fly this plane as I'm building it?
Yeah, it was. There was no strategy. In fact, I was actually very fearful when I left corporate. But I had been struggling with this internal tension inside of me. Like, I'm an analyst, but I felt like an imposter. I was struggling with imposter syndrome. I felt like, yes, I wear this hat, but it almost feels like a helmet because it felt like it was just tightening over my head, and so I had this tension. Like, another part of me was saying, you need to write. You need to write. You should be writing. This is so. There's this tension that you're having because now you're thinking, but I have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Do I leave a secure job with a secure paycheck, the stability? And at that point, I also had a son. And he was like 2 years old, and we'd separated with the father. So I was single, handedly raising him.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of considerations to say, how do we survive? So it went on, this back and forth, the tension. And every day it was growing. That voice was louder and louder saying, you need to leave and write. So your comfort zone can actually become a crutch at times.
Yeah.
Because for any change to happen, you need to step out of it. So, yeah. So because I was now juggling a lot of balls, I had the writing, I had my career, which was very demanding. It's not your typical 8 to 5 job. Sometimes you work 8 to 10. And then I'm also a mom. Something's going to give at some point. And at some point, my work started to suffer. And I remember one day my boss called me and said to me, this isn't working anymore, is it? And I had to be honest, it wasn't. And he was like, do you want to take a package and go?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, probably. So for me, that kind of propelled me to leave. And then I just reasoned that, look, if it doesn't work out, I can always find another job. My qualifications will always be there.
Yeah.
So that's how I then left corporate in 2018, which is when The Gold Diggers came out in June that year. And then after I left, I went on to write A Family Affair for. Those were the best years of my life, actually.
The Family Affair is my favorite.
Yeah. When I was writing that book, because it was like a preview of what my life as a writer would be.
Ah.
You know, I wrote this book at leisure. I had time. I enjoyed it. There was no pressure. I wasn't worrying about anything. And I could even travel to attend literary events overseas because you're not worried about taking leave. I had the time, and so for me, I was like, okay, I'm getting comfortable in this. This is really what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and I think COVID was a curveball that I had not expected. Yeah, and that really kind of threw me off balance in a big way.
So what did you do during COVID? Did you continue writing?
No, I didn't write. I mean, it was a difficult time, because there's uncertainty.
Yes.
You can't really, because I just couldn't write. I think creatively there were too many things going on, because you're worried about what is tomorrow bringing. Yeah. So I think that's not that. I mean, some people did write books. I just couldn't focus. And then obviously financially things dried up. Remember, I'm not in a job. I
Yeah.
can't sell books anymore.
Yeah.
So that income wasn't coming. I can't travel because normally when you travel as a writer as well, you get,
Yes.
like the honorariums, and which, if they come in euros, it's a lot of money. So I wasn't getting anything. So for me, it was just like everything dried up, and it was one of the most difficult times in my life. And I think that's when I became very prayerful. It, not that I wasn't prayerful, but like I think that was really the turning point for me spiritually. I just really, because we were living on a prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it really, my faith strengthened a lot during that period. And I had a spiritual awakening during that period. So a lot of things spiritual inwardly were
Yes.
happening to me. And I think that was the biggest like pivot moment. And then when we came out of it, I think in 2022, then A Family Affair was then, we could launch it after the COVID. And then I started working on An Angel's Demise after that.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, I also then, Stained Glass approached me they wanted to option the polygamy. Well, they wanted to buy the option for the Polygamist. So it almost like you came out, like it was coming out of a valley.
Yeah.
And then that happened. The Polygamist thing with Stained Glass happened. And I was like, it was a lifeline because after the COVID years, I was like drowning. So, so for me then, I came out of that valley, the valley of the shadow of death. Yeah, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then Family Affair came. Then I started working on that. But I think for me then, post 22, things started to look up and I was going on an upward trajectory. Then in 2024, that's when Netflix came on board.
Okay.
And
Can you take us through first? I like how, what got you through, that your faith really strengthened. I think that's what takes us through a lot of stuff. It grounds us during those tough times, But can you take us through like the steps for someone an author who one day may sit there and be like, so I have a friend who is a budding author and she talks about how, authors are always broke. We don't have a team. We don't have anyone to market for us. We have to learn the system as we go along. Yeah. So I'd like to tap into your experience for someone who may be like going through that process of they have a book and they're approached by Stained Glass. What learnings, what experience did you have? Like what advice can you give to someone? What are the things that you can do as a writer?
Okay, so for me, I think the learning really began with The Polygamist. When I was saying to you earlier that because a lot of traditional publishers rejected it, I had to self-publish. So for me, that whole process of self-publishing taught me the business, the book business, which I was not aware of at all. Like I was very naive. And you'd think for an analyst, I would actually understand that publishing and books are actually its own different kind of industry.
Yeah.
And so for me, that whole process taught me to learn the business of writing. It's a business as well.
Yes. Yes.
And it also made me understand that books come with different rights. And because I then understood that very early in my career, because even when this book came out in 2012, 2013, people already asking me, like, they wanted to adapt it into film.
Yeah.
Because people would read it and say, this should be on the screen. And that was the narrative that always followed that book in particular. And I think we had 2 attempts before Stained Glass actually optioned it. They never took off, but already that book had always had, it was destined for the screen, I think. And people always spoke into it, into it like we see it in film, we see it, and
Yes.
until it eventually happened. So I think that actually taught me, because like your writer friend is rightly saying, the income from royalties is very minuscule, especially in markets like ours where you don't sell a lot of books, because it's a numbers game. You need to sell a lot of books to make a lot of money from it. And so now you have to find ways of surviving of books. What other income? And so when the options that, when I realized you can actually option a book, which basically it gives you a right, but not the obligation to buy the underlying film rights. So you can actually earn money from the option. And so
Is that kind of like stocks?
yeah, it's like, because it's a derivative, And then, so I also then learned that options would lapse, but I would still be getting some money. You find other ways. You have to be creative about how do you survive. And it wasn't, when I was still working, when I had a full-time job, I wasn't as, militant about being, learning how to survive on the book alone, because I had a salary. So when you have a salary, you take a lot of things for granted. You're not even worried how much you're selling, because, you have your salary, your paycheck. But I think when now this was my bread and butter, I became very, more proactive. How do I market? How do I get sales? So it taught me the business side of it. And I think everything in life prepares you.
Yeah.
It's always, there's nothing is ever, I don't think things happen for nothing. There's a lesson behind it. And so, I learned to understand how books work. You need to market them. And sometimes you have to market. You do have to do the marketing. You have to put yourself out there. And there's a lot that goes into it. And it helps when there's a team, because when I published with Pan Macmillan in 2018, that's a traditional publisher. They have a bigger budget. So they also put me out there, so, and people then, my brand started to develop from there. So you also start to gain the traction from publicity, because as an author, an upcoming author, what you need is that lucky break.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I'd never been invited to a literary festival. I think until 2016, Time of the Writer. A lady, Tiny Mungu, she's a film director. She read The Polygamist, and at the time she was curating the literature festival, the Time of the Writer. And then she invited me on, and because apparently they'd also invited Uno Violet Bulawayo.
Okay, yes.
Because We Need New Names had just come out. And then they put me on the stage with Uno Violet.
Oh.
And, just the association.
Yes.
Because then people are like, who is this Sue? And suddenly they see the book. And I think that's really when people started then being more interested in my work. But it just takes one person just to open a door for you. And up until then, I'd never been to a literary festival with real writers. So for me, I was just so excited. Like, here I am. I'm finally counted as a writer with writers. and other writers kind of look at you like, oh, this self-published. Because self-publishing is not really, a popular, it's called vanity publishing. So people tend to look down on self-published authors like, okay, was your work really that good then if you had to self-publish? So you're also feeling a bit insecure, but you're like, okay, but I'm in the room, right? I'm in the room.
Yes.
So, at least I'm in the room. And so I think that was also the reason why then when Pan Macmillan offered to publish The Gold Diggers, I was happy to accept the offer, because it gave me the validation that I needed, for people to take me seriously, to say, okay, your work is good. It's, it's on par with others out there.
Yeah.
So so that helped my career along. So it's all those steps. But even then, when as I was entering into these contracts, there were rights that I held back because I knew they had value. So because of what I'd learned.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I also think that, if you're an upcoming author, don't just be quick to sign because you don't know what you're signing away. Get advice. There are different types of rights, and different types of rights allow you to do different types of things. So you also need to be knowledgeable. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And so, so for me, it's also learning and understanding how it's a business, that's what people need to understand. Publishers are there to make money. And so also understand that and treat it as a business.
Yeah.
Treat yourself as a business. Yeah.
The 20 years in finance didn't go to waste.
No, it didn't. Because now we're talking about options and I
Yes.
understand them because I studied derivatives. So that's what I'm saying. Everything you learn will help you some way, somehow. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Humor, the boutique career and leadership consultancy helping professionals get clear, get confident, and get hired. From CV writing and Clifton Strengths coaching to interview prep and leadership development, Humor is here to help you take the next step in your career. Visit humor.org, humhr.org to learn more. Let's talk about mentorship. You mentioned Ngobile a couple of times, and I know in the book you say she was your mentor. Do you mentor anybody? Firstly, how critical was that? Of course, we owe the polygamist to her forcing you to do it, but how critical has mentorship been in your journey as an author? And do you mentor anybody?
Okay, I don't know if I would call it mentorship. I mean, we both loved reading. It was a shared passion. And she encouraged me to read a lot. But it wasn't, I think, mentoring in the sense of that you're thinking of. And that the kind of mentoring, I think now, like the formal, where people is more demanding, I think, in the sense that you would have to read, work, give feedback. And and that is more demanding. And unfortunately, when I say people always ask me, "Can you mentor me?" And I say I don't have time.
Yes,
people don't
yes,
understand
yes.
why I say I don't have time because essentially because I write for a living, I don't do anything else, so I have to write. And I typically write from 8 until about 3 p.m. every day. It's like a job.
Oh.
Yeah. And when 3 p.m. I say I stop because my son comes home around that time from school.
Yeah.
So when he comes home, I have to now switch. I have to become the mom. I have to do motherly things. I have to start cooking. Then we have to do homework. So, I have to re-engineer. And I also have to and do admin stuff. So my days are pretty much, structured in a certain way. And weekends at times, if I'm not with my son, I have to do events or attend festivals. So it's kind of like you have to balance also the marketing of your work. So time becomes very critical for me because if I'm working on something, when I'm not writing, I need to read. So that's another thing. When you're a writer, you have to read books. You cannot write and not read. It just doesn't. It's the same way like a filmmaker has to watch films. You cannot be a filmmaker and you don't switch on your television. You can't work like that. So for me, time is really a very limited resource in that sense. And I don't have much time to mentor. I would love to mentor, but I don't have time. And I get so many requests, please read this. And even then I don't have time. So people always get upset and think, it's personal. It's not even personal. I just don't have time. The amount of work that I need to do. And even writing, I'm saying when I write from 9 to 3, that's not even enough time. Because most writers will tell you it actually takes maybe an hour to warm up, so, before you even actually get down to it. And then you have to write. And it's not like your day doesn't have interruptions because my perfect days when I don't have a phone call, nothing. But there are days when you have to go somewhere or you have to.
Yeah.
And interruptions are not good, because ideally, especially for me, I need to flow. And whenever you interrupt it, it really disrupts your flow. And even now, as I'm doing a lot of, post the series, I've had to do a lot of interviews. So I haven't written like in almost 2 weeks. And I understand why, people want to
Yeah.
talk to me. It's part of the job, but it means that the writing will have to take a back burner. But it means that now it's like when I go back into it, it's like almost starting from scratch, because you now have to read the last chapters that you did to find that rhythm. There's a rhythm to it, and to get back into the story, because you're in another world essentially. So, and also when you write, you don't want to be reading other stuff, because it also messes with your flow and rhythm. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I think people don't understand. I mean, hopefully there will come a time when I say, look, I'm not writing. And then, I would then do a lot of those mentorship, sit with upcoming writers to say, okay, this is where I can help you. And it's definitely something I would like to do, but probably later on, not now, because of the work. It's like my workflow is quite heavy. And I think as my son also gets older and becomes more independent, it will also free me to be able to then, mentor, other upcoming writers as well. So it's a time thing.
So you're writing full time. You're no longer screenwriting.
No, I'm writing full time now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us what you're writing?
Yeah, I can tell you, but I'm not going to. Well, right now it's nonfiction work.
Okay.
I have been dabbling. I have some fiction projects that I want to do. So I want to write the sequel of A Family Affair. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of research for that as well. I've written a few chapters, but it's still work in progress. And there's another new fiction project I want to do. So those are the two fictions projects, which probably I'll start writing towards the end of this year, when I finish the non-fiction project that I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so, which has taken me almost 2 years, because it's a historical book. Someone commissioned me to write a book that centers liberation struggle heroes. 6 of them, and it was quite involving. So, but it's an important project which I want to do, because our history is not really well documented.
Yes.
So so they're those kind of things. They're like passion projects, but they're important. They're not for the commercial fiction side, but they're important, for our lineage and our history. So there are certain things that I'll do which have nothing to do with with the commercial fiction side of things that I write, like this project. But it's an important project for our children and their children. So there's that documenting the history, which is still very important to me.
Your legacy.
Yeah.
That's your legacy.
Not yeah. So that's why I'm saying, look, I'm sure maybe later on I will have the time to do mentorship. Yeah. But I think now also there's that pressing need, like you have so many ideas.
Yes.
And you need, because now you realize, as you get older, you realize, time.
Yes. Time is of the essence.
Yeah. You can't, as opposed when you're younger, you think you have all the time. But I think now you realize, okay, there's time, time is moving, and it's moving fast.
Yeah.
And I have all these ideas I need to put down, so I need to do it now.
Yeah, that's a lot that you have going. The projects that you have going. How then do you manage your time?
Yeah,
tell me day in the life of Sue, right? How do you pep yourself up to say, I'm going to write?
I don't think when you get to this stage, it's not even, you don't pep yourself up, and you're no longer writing just because you're inspired. You have to write. It's that you have to have the discipline. Whether or not I feel inspired that day, I still have to put it's about putting words on paper.
It's a job.
Yeah. But it's a job that I love.
Yeah.
And writing can get very difficult at times. People don't realize this. Sometimes you get to the desk and you are dry, and you're like, where are the words going to come from? And
It doesn't show, Sue. Look at
yeah,
that. Look at
yeah,
all those words.
yeah. But there are those dry days, and you're like, yo. But what I normally do on days like that, I sometimes research around the topic that I want to write about.
Yeah.
And sometimes that sparks during that research. An idea will come to me, and then it'll just then I move. But yeah, but it's just about discipline. You have to and be consistent to say.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying now, I feel bad because yeah, it's been over 2 weeks and I haven't written anything, not even a sentence.
And now I feel bad for having you here.
No, don't feel bad. It's on me because you're thinking, "Phew, I have a lot of catching up to do." Yeah, and like you say, age also comes with its own, constraints.
Yes.
I mean, before when I wrote the Gold Diggers, I used to write from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. every single day.
And still go to work.
Yes, but now waking up. Now I want to actually sleep more. I want to sleep more. Like 9, 10, I'm already like this.
Yeah, yes.
You see, so also you can't do the things that you could when you were much younger. You might look young, physically, but I think the body also doesn't have as much energy, I think, as I used to. So I also have to listen to my body and say, if my body's tired, then
Yeah.
I have to put the pen down and sleep. Yeah, but it's time. Time is money.
Definitely. In season 3 of this podcast, I spoke to Comfort Mbofana. You might remember
I
him,
remember him.
Radio
Yes,
3.
DJ. Yeah, I
DJ
loved him.
Radio
Yeah.
3. Yeah. And he talked about how the work he does, like media people in the limelight that write, that speak, they have a responsibility to show a mirror to society. And that he does that in media. Do you believe that? And is that something that you do in your books?
I do. Yeah, I think that's very important. As much as we entertain, there's also the stronger message behind it. And I think you see it with The Polygamist. I've always said, and I was always intentional about this, that I don't want my book just to be read and put aside.
Yeah.
And I want my books to be read and discussed. And that's why you find it's been a popular book club pick, because people always want to debrief, like, what have I read?
Yes.
And you want to talk to the next person.
Yes.
And so even now with the series, I'm not surprised the conversations are sparked. It's just they've been sparked like on a global scale. But that's always what I wanted to see people doing, to reckon with some of these things. It's not enough just to put a lens or a mirror to society, but what are we going to, what are we doing next? I mean, the fact that when I wrote this in 2012, it was a problem. The issues raised were a problem. Gender-based violence, even then, was a problem.
Yes.
And we're in 2026, and we're still reckoning with the same problems. It shows you that, we're not evolving as a society. The brokenness is still there. And the hurt, people are hurt. They need healing. I mean, if you think of, I've been on social media sometimes when I get a chance. I look at some of the posts, and people are broken and hurt and traumatized. I mean, if people spoke of being triggered, clearly that speaks that, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done as a society. And it's important that we do that healing, because if we don't, we're going to procreate and multiply the dysfunction from one generation to the next. If we don't deal with the trauma, we're just going to transfer it to the next generation, and we'll have these cycles and patterns that continue to repeat themselves. So it's also so important spiritually that we start to reckon with these issues.
Yeah. I mean, the polygamist is, it's just been discussed all across the world. And I think the themes in there are relevant. But, for me, the thread through The Polygamist, the HIV pandemic, and the time that you were writing it in the location, because you're writing it in Harare, it's focused in Harare. That's the time that the HIV pandemic was really sweeping in the country.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest lesson for
Yeah.
me that I got out of there. How this HIV pandemic was such a scourge.
Yes, it was. Because
Such a
it
scourge on
decimated
society.
families.
Yeah, it decimated
I
families.
remember my aunt and uncle passed on more or less the same time and left 4 children.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of child-headed households. And can you imagine what the collateral damage is? And now we also have children from that era who contracted HIV from the womb. They're now adults and they're positive.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about how they assimilate. They were born with it. They didn't ask for it.
No.
Yeah. And so that's the collateral damage from, the promiscuity that was rampant at the time. We need to, as adults, reckon with our sexuality. And there are consequences, And whether you're a Christian or not, there are consequences.
Yes.
And
yes.
I like to say, because some people will say, look, my books are not for Christians. They don't speak to Christians. But, Nyathi represents what happens when we fall to lust. Lust is a spirit.
Yeah.
The biggest sin is caused from lust. Lust of life.
Yes.
Lust of the eyes.
Yes.
Lust of the flesh. And pride. Pride of life. And Jonasi's ego at the end, because he didn't want to take the medication. The pride.
Yes.
He was prideful.
Because he could have lived.
Yeah. That's what led to his death. So sometimes I think when you're relaying messages, they don't, I think for some Christians, they want to see it's like
Yes.
pasted onto the screen. But sometimes it's not as obvious, but it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up because, like you say, the polygamist has been discussed. And one of the things that was discussed in one of these groups that I'm in is that as Christians, there was someone, it was a pastor, I think, a lady pastor that had posted something on social media that you shouldn't, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't watch The Polygamist. That level of nudity is not, you need cleansing after that.
Yes, yeah.
So there was a whole conversation about it. And that came up, that should it be like dry, like clean, sometimes the message is implicitly in real life.
Yeah.
This is fact, and I find that a lot of your books are based on fact. Is that?
Yeah, because people think fiction is based on fact. We just fictionalize the facts and make it more, accessible to the readers.
Yeah.
Because some readers wouldn't necessarily want to deal with the facts. But if I storify it, you are more, able to receive it. You're more receptive to the message. I had an interview with Anne Shongwe, who's the regional director of UNAIDS. And she was saying, that the HIV message for them is profound, and they've latched onto it as an organization because it speaks to the Jonasis that they want to target in their campaigns, because they say actually they are the biggest, like in terms of group.
Yes.
Because they then go on to infect younger girls because of the intergenerational sex.
Exactly.
So they're saying that, and the Jonasis are most resistant to taking ARVs. And they see it in their numbers. And it was quite interesting because I saw a comment, someone was saying, but why would a millionaire like Jonasi die of HIV? He can afford. It's not about affordability.
It's the pride.
It's a pride. And this, they feel like they're invincible. It's that power aspect. So having a series like that makes it easier for them to say, listen, don't be a Jonasi, And so that's why I'm saying there's power in storytelling, because we can use it to reach audiences. Because as long as it resonates, then you can attach the messaging. Amnesty International also jumped onto it, and they were saying, putting out on social media, steps to take if you are married to a narcissist.
Yeah, there you go.
Someone's going to get helped, because they might find themselves in a situation, you're either dating a Jonasi or you're married to him. How do you navigate it? And so those are practical things that can help someone in a situation like that. Because the thing with film, when you see yourself, representation matters, I always say. People saw themselves in one of those characters. And that's what resonated. That's what made people say, what is this? What am I seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Misogyny is another thing
Yes.
that people were like, but this encourages misogyny. That was not the intention of the book.
It's not, it's not
Yeah.
to encourage it.
Yes.
But it's there.
Yeah,
We live in patriarchal societies. And also women are the biggest enforcers of patriarchy, you know? And that's another thing we need to recognize, because it's your aunt who's telling you begezel. Sometimes, akubegezeleki, you know?
You need to get out.
Yeah, you know, and it's that messaging. And it comes from women.
Yes.
And Zageng is daughter saying begezel. It's normally another woman telling you, hang in there. Yeah, hang in there.
Yeah, hang in
Sivela corner. I also suffered. It's and almost as if, you know, suffering comes with a badge of honor when it doesn't. And the sad reality is a lot of women are leaving marriages in their coffins. So for me, I'm not really trying to capture a dystopian society in my book. I'm just writing it as it is.
As it is.
Yeah, as it is.
So one thing that, for me, the book, right? You read the book and you watch the movie. They're changes, obviously.
Yes.
They adapted it to screen.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the shock factor, I
Yes,
think.
as well, yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a shock factor when you're seeing something visually.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're reading it, you can make your own,
yes.
in the thing. So, yeah, I feel like it's such a... it's a good idea to read the book as well.
As well, yes.
Yeah, if you've watched the movie, read the book.
It's always a good idea to read the book. And I like that people are reading, because they're looking for the book, you know. Because you get so much more, I think, from the book.
Yeah.
But no, this is not to take anything away from the adaptation, because like you say, they're two different mediums.
Yeah.
And TV is more visual. And
were you involved?
I was not involved at all in the
Okay.
adaptation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My involvement was just purely transactional. But yeah, they had a writers' room, which was headed by Ubusisiwe Zwane.
Okay.
I think, and they were involved in coming up with the whole series arc, using the book as the source material. Yeah.
How did you feel when you saw these characters that you come up with? Which is another thing. How do you come up with these characters? How do you come? Because it's a full thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a person.
It's a person.
Yeah, you have how they feel, how they speak, how they react. So it must be a lot of work to like come up with each and every character. How do you do that?
It is. With characterization, when I was still a very novice writer, it was basics. I used to cut out pictures from magazines, put it on the page, and then I'd say, this is Yandisa. As she would look.
Yes.
If I see a picture, and then put it there. What does Yandisa like? When was she born? What does she eat? What does she do in her spare time? And that's basically what you also do in film. It's like having a story Bible for each character. And the more information you have about the character, the more believable the character becomes. So it's the same with writing. It's drawing up a character that's believable. And none of the characters in The Polygamist, they're built on stereotypes. People say, are they real people? And I'm saying, no, they're not. But they represent people that you can recognize. Matipa represents a certain kind of woman, and you recognize her, right?
Yes.
You have no doubt. And you know a Matipa. you know a Joyce. So it's how accurate.
Jonas.
Yeah, it's how accurate you are now. Because in the original novel, when I wrote it, each chapter is narrated by one of the women. But I never write on top, this is Essie or this is Joyce. And that was also deliberate, because I wanted you as a reader to be able to discern who's now talking.
Yeah.
And I've never had a reader saying, I didn't know who was talking. If they knew which voice, this is Essie now. They were able to discern. And so that speaks to the strength of the characterization. That you know exactly who they are. So similarly, they translated well onto the screen because you knew. And the thing is, no one was ever confused as what kind of man Jonas. And we all see that Jonas, and we all know him. Some people are saying, Jonas is my dad, Jonas is my ex-husband, or my husband that I'm married to now. People know them, or my uncle's like a Jonasi. So those characters are very familiar. But it's also how the story is told that makes it unique. I mean, it's not a new story, but with every story, it's how you tell it that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Because polygamy is not new.
No.
It's not new at all. It's just that this brand of polygamy that I write about, the perverted kind, is new. It's not new, but it's just being done differently.
Yes.
Because I was familiar with the traditional kind of polygamy. Ukulu had 5 wives, and my great-grandfather had 11. So on the maternal side of the family, polygamy was very prevalent.
So do you write how much of the how much of the Polygamist is based on that?
No, not at all. It's not
Okay.
based at all on Ukulu. Because remember, Ukulu died in 1979.
Yeah.
I was born in 1978, so I didn't even know him.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have known. And my grandmother never talked about him. I mean, I remember asking her about her experience in polygamy. She just said there were just more hands to do the work. That's what she said. So whether there was emotional labor, physical, she just said there were more hands to do the work. And she just never spoke much more about it,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have known the experiences to that level. And yeah, it's a different context, I think.
Yeah, I mean the context that you write about, I worked in it because I worked in a bank.
Yeah, so you saw
around
it.
the same
So
time, so I
you
saw it. Like,
yeah.
I worked in human resources in the
Bank,
It
yeah.
was like literal drama.
Yeah. That's why. And when people ask me, I always say that. That's where I first saw it. I mean, having grown up in Bulawayo, we never saw it.
No,
Bulawayo is very conservative.
yeah, you come from a small town.
Yeah. So when you went to Harare, suddenly you're like, hey, what's going on here? And that was my reaction. It was like, what is this? And that's really what inspired me to write the story. And I see a lot of angry men saying we misrepresented. Well,
There are a lot of angry men.
And I say, if the shoe fits, wear it. If it fits, wear it. Yeah.
Yeah, men were telling each other, "Don't watch it with your wife."
Yeah, that's the deception. Because traditional polygamy was always transparent.
Yeah.
All the players in the equation knew. And so that really is my gripe. I'm not saying polygamy is wrong, but I think allow those who want to enter it. They should have a choice and autonomy to say, yes, I want it. No, I don't want it. So that's my thing. Don't impose it. And I feel like
Yes.
it's being imposed on a lot of women
Yes.
against their will, which is
don't
wrong.
know.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if you go into it knowing that this is what I'm going into, it's
Yeah.
a different situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like Matipa knew she was
Just
going
really
into
it.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for wife 2, 3, and 4, it's always you have that choice because you know what you're going into.
Yeah.
But I always feel for the first wives, the Joyces of
Yes.
this world,
Yes.
they get it's imposed on them, and so that's why a lot of people were like, a lot of Joyces, we see our mothers.
Yeah.
And that's why they were rooting for Joyce because, it's like we wanted our mothers to win.
Yeah. Sue, which one of these books is your favorite?
All of them. I always tell people that it's like having children. I don't know. Maybe I don't have 4 kids. So, but for me, I love them equally. And they mean different things for at different time, of my life. They represent different things, I guess, in my writing journey. So I love them equally for different reasons, but I love them equally.
Isn't it ironic, or rather, isn't it amazing how your first baby is
Yes.
now running?
Yes. And it should be like that. Our firstborn, it must go in order. I'm proud of my firstborn.
Yeah. I think we are all proud of your firstborn. Do you believe the other ones have the potential to screen?
All of them do. Yeah.
I think the family affair. Someone please do the family affair on screen.
Some people are crying for the gold diggers, so I think all of them do. I think the Angel's demise, the reservation about adapting that one has been, it's because it's a period piece.
Yes.
So it would be very expensive to make. Yeah. But that also would actually be nice dramatically, but it would be an expensive production.
Yeah. You've written about everywhere you've lived in. You've written about Bulawayo, about Harare. Is there something in the brew for where you are now in Johannesburg?
Yes. So
Okay.
the new book that I'll write is set here, which I'd never done before. But I think it's because I hadn't. I think also because it's a bit scary writing a country that you inhabit in your old age.
Yeah.
You need to really know it very well to represent it, and also the cultural nuances. Yes, in the
Yes.
writing. So now I feel like very confident to finally write a book that I'll set here. Yeah.
And I know you write a lot in there about the diaspora experience.
Yeah.
Is that also a bit from your lived experience or from, people around you's lived experience? Because, as Zimbabweans, we are a huge diaspora.
yeah.
And I personally, I could relate to a lot of the diaspora, like references to in the family affair.
Yes.
Like, who was it? Koliswa's boyfriend. What was his
Yes.
name? Tulani.
Yeah.
He couldn't go home.
Yes.
When his
dad
dad passed
died,
away
yeah.
because he was so far away. The sending of the money.
Yes.
Yeah, and how you go back home and you're working out the credit
just
card
cash.
from the gifts that you brought home.
Yeah.
a lot
Because
of that. Yeah.
it's that universal experience for most people. Like I think if you think about it, most of us who grew up during our time, especially, are no longer there.
Yeah.
Everyone's living
Yes,
abroad, and
yes.
it's that every Zimbabwean knows someone. They say every Zimbabwean family has one person, at least one person,
Yes.
who's a member who's outside of the country. So I think those are realities for most of us, and it's also that wanting to be deliberate about capturing that, so that people will remember like what happened
Yeah.
to us and how we ended up scattered, all over the world. Because we are scattered.
Yeah.
And it's understanding why are people scattered, and I think that's why I explore that a lot in The Gold Diggers, which tracks a group of illegal immigrants who come into Johannesburg looking for gold or what they think is gold here. Yeah, so it's those stories are important. Yeah.
Gold, gold.
Gold, yeah. Yeah. Gold, yeah. That's how The Gold Diggers came.
Yeah, yeah. I had a lot of questions, but we've been like, it's almost an hour, I
Is
think.
it? Okay.
And I think it's been an hour, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna wrap it up because I have too many questions. We need to do this again in Kenya.
Yes,
You're invited.
I'm coming.
Yeah. We can have a book club.
Yes. I'll definitely come. I've discovered I have a huge following now in Kenya. So I'm definitely coming.
Lots of conversations going on.
At some point, the Kenyan government, some minister was saying they want to ban the polygamist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were saying it's destroying our marriages.
Oh, soon. Look at the impact you've had.
Yeah.
So, we're discussing you for sure.
Yeah. So that's something I need to come to Kenya.
Yeah. And it was being pirated. What a compliment.
Yes.
At the same time, it's a compliment.
And I understand.
Yeah. Because it's in demand.
Yes. Yeah.
When will it be available in the bookshops in Kenya?
So we're currently in negotiations.
Okay.
Because you also with books you can't just distribute willy-nilly.
Yes.
They're territorial rights.
Yes.
And all that. So so I'm trying to get a distributor there. We'll make the book readily available and affordable as well. So it's an ongoing conversation. Yeah. It's always it's not distribution into the rest of Africa is very difficult. Even overseas, it's so it's easier for books published overseas to be sold down here. But it's difficult for us to move books up. So it's always a challenge. It's very few titles end up being published overseas because you also have to get published overseas. So you have to sell the rights. And so it's a difficult conversation. But, this series has done for me what,
yes,
no other publisher would have done for my work. And hopefully, people, there's interest now. And hopefully, we'll get the book, become available in different regions. And there's now interest for translation rights into different languages and French,
Wow.
Yeah, because there's demand. Apparently, Francophone now want the book. So this really this series has really opened up many doors for me. I'm thankful it's an answered prayer. I used to pray, I'd be like, God, if you did it for Jabez, do it for me. But
enlarge my territory.
Yes, I was like, enlarge it. But I didn't even think, when I was thinking, I just thought, I might go to the rest of Africa. But God has been wonderful.
Oh,
it's my
wow.
testimony.
Yeah.
And he said, we're going global.
Yes, and you've gone global,
yes.
really gone global. Yeah,
So,
I mean, number one in 16 countries. I looked at the countries that were mentioned, and I think I saw Czechoslovakia. Was it there?
It's there.
I remember thinking, how? So is it going to be translated? You think
I
for
don't
them?
know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. This really has opened so many doors for me.
So you have answered the question. There was always this question about how you had to leave Africa to become a well-known writer. To be,
yes,
you had to,
exactly.
the Ngugi.
Yes.
Yeah, the Ngugi wa Thiongos,
Yeah, because like I'm telling you, when you are published overseas, it's easier because they will market you and then sell your work downwards. It doesn't happen the other way around. So most of us in Southern Africa are kind of writing in obscurity, in a void. So this really has put me on the map and just, as a brand. And not just for me, it's opened the door for other writers because people are going to start looking, what else is down there?
Yes, what else is in Africa?
Yeah, and they're going to come down, So, it's not just a win for me, but every other writer in the South.
I think it's that I've had this conversation as well throughout this season. This season was entrepreneurship as a career choice. And one of the themes was how Africa is rising in so many ways. Music and, and I think in the literary arts.
Filmmaking.
In filmmaking. So the Polygamist has shown us that you do not have to leave Africa to be a great author.
Yes, absolutely.
Sue, I want to thank you very
Likewise.
much. I have one closing question for you, and then I do fire round very quick.
Okay.
Yeah. The closing question is what do you think 13-year-old Sue would say to 48-year-old Sue now? By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you. She would say, well done. You did it, well done. Yeah. That's what she would say. She'd be proud.
Yeah.
She'd be proud.
Yeah. Okay, fire round questions. Nothing wrong, nothing right, Okay. Joyce or Matipa?
Joyce.
Jonasi or Magesh?
Jonasi. And I simply say that because, in the book, Magesh, there was no Magesh. In the book, Jonasi had two brothers, Wanda and Geshem. So Magesh becomes an amalgamation of those two characters.
Yeah.
And they kind of exploded him and gave him a character arc. So he's essentially a new character. Not mine. Yeah, so that's why I go with Jonasi.
Yeah, because in the book there's the brothers. They are different names in the book. Yeah. Xoliswa, Yandisa, or Zandile?
Yandisa. I love Yandisa.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, one Zimbabwean. Oh no, book or screen?
To what book? Yeah, book. Yeah.
Okay, one Zimbabwean author everyone should read other than yourself.
Sphiwe Gloria Ndlovu. Well, I have two actually. Sphiwe Gloria Ndlovu and Ubusisekile Khumalo.
Okay, I forgot one question, Sue. AI. We are flooded now with books that I just put in through ChatGPT, put in through Claude, and I can just go in and say, hey, I want to write a book about this, and write a paragraph, and it spits out. What do you think about that? And have you in any way embraced those tools?
So for me, a lot of people, when someone writes using AI, you can tell.
Yes.
And people say a lot of AI writing lacks the soul. So I think we're still safe. Yeah. If the soul cannot translate onto the page, then, we're safe. And I think also as readers are the ones who get to decide if we're going to give AI writers a platform. If readers gravitate toward it, then it will gain traction. But if they don't, if you still go back to the traditional writing, then it means we'll still have staying power. So it's really in the reader's hands. Yeah, I'm not totally averse to using AI. I do use it for a lot of research, like prompts if I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
and then I take it from there. But I'm not using it to write.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
don't need it.
So yeah, definitely. I think it's made my research faster. Sometimes you need it's just quicker.
Okay, last one. If you were to put a billboard in Bulawayo, outside girls' college, one message for every girl walking in.
One message.
On a billboard, if you could put a billboard.
Yeah, just say dare to dream. Dare to dream. Yeah.
Sue, it has been an honor, an absolute honor. Thank you so much for joining me today. I sincerely hope that the sales surpass your expectations.
Oh, they
the
have.
sales of all your books.
No, at this point, you know what? I'm past being, like I think what has happened in the past 2 weeks has actually exceeded my expectation. I never imagined this, any of this.
And the sales have also skyrocketed.
Yeah, especially for the polygamist. That's what I'm saying. I hope my other babies will also pick up. They'll learn from the bigger, the older.
Yes.
Yeah.
And join the family affair.
Yes. It's a family affair indeed. Yeah.
Thank you, Sue. Everyone, thank you for joining us today on Humor Career Insights. And I hope you've been inspired as I've been inspired by Sue's amazing, incredible journey. And until next time, do stay inspired. Buy Sue's books. Buy the other books, please. They are amazing. And Sue, where can people get your books?
So they're available in bookstores in South Africa, reputable bookstores, bargain books, exclusive books, Estoril. Then online, Take-A-Lot, Amazon, and I think Amazon probably for the rest of the world, Barnes and Noble, Everand. And we have the print on demand for those who want the paperback and not the Kindle. It's also available online.
Tell me, for the Polygamist, because you self-published, all the money goes to you.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
Buy the Polygamist then.
Yes, the Polygamist is my cash cow. That's a book that has taken care of me for years.
Okay. All right. Providence.
Yes. That's what I always talk about 4 P's.
Yeah.
Perseverance, passion, persistence, and providence. Those are the tenets I live by.
Yeah. Awesome. Once again, my honor. Everyone, don't forget, subscribe, share if this conversation has resonated with you. Please do share it. And until next time, stay inspired.